I cut off my daughter's luxury wedding funds. Her dinner invitation shocked me with this twist. The night was dark and stormy, just like the chaos swirling in her heart. Lily had been planning her dream wedding for years, each detail carefully curated. But when I slashed her luxury wedding funds, a tidal wave of disbelief crashed over her. The invitation she sent on that fateful Friday night was not just a request for me to join her for dinner. It was a bombshell wrapped in silk and lace. Everyone in our small town knew the wedding would be splendor incarnate. Yet here I was, the villain of my own daughter's fairy tale. Lily, always the princess, had never stayed quiet. Her fiery spirit, matched only by the glimmer in her deep brown eyes, still mirrored that of the little girl who once clung to my leg. But this time, something was off, as if a shadow lingered over her words, masking deeper thoughts. As I opened the ornate envelope, an unsettling chill crept up my spine. The fine paper felt too heavy, the characters embossed in gold too flashy for the circumstance. Did she even understand the gravity of what she had written? The dinner was set for Friday, at our favorite diner, a nostalgic nod to simpler times. And that's when the whispers began. Friends, neighbors, and even strangers exchanged glances. Was this a dinner invitation or an undercover plea for reconciliation? I could feel the tension buzzing in the air. My heart raced. It played a frantic game of tug-of-war, battling love for my daughter against the necessity of tough love. Before we continued, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Every step I took toward that diner felt like walking on a tightrope. Half of me wanted to embrace her, shout apologies, while the other half, gripped tight as a vice, screamed that I'd done the right thing. When I walked in, the bell chimes echoed through, and every head turned. The small-town gossip machine would be in full swing. I spotted her across the room, dressed elegantly. She looked so poised, so collected, except for the flicker of something in her eyes that told me she was far from fine. Something wasn't right. As I approached, the air thickened with unspoken words. What could she possibly say that would twist this entire story around? What bombshell was she ready to drop on me, just as thunder rumbled outside, mirroring the turmoil brewing within? My heart hammered in my chest, drowning out the diner's chatter and the rain beating against the windows. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to put one foot in front of the other. Lily was staring into her coffee, her fingers tracing the rim of the cup as though searching for answers. Would she even want to look up and meet my gaze? "Dad, you made it," she finally said, her voice flat, devoid of the excitement I once knew. I forced a smile, but it felt strained, like a mask concealing my panic and regret. "Yes, of course. Wouldn't he miss our dinner?" I replied, sliding into the booth across from her. The smell of grease and old coffee filled the air, once an aroma of comfort, now just a reminder of our crumbling relationship. Lily lifted her eyes, and for a second, I caught a glimpse of the hurt swirling there. "Thanks for coming," she said, an edge creeping into her tone. It felt like a challenge, a verbal gauntlet laid at my feet. I couldn't help but notice the people at nearby tables pretending not to stare, walls of eavesdroppers ready to consume our conversation. The tension coiled between us like a snake, waiting for the right moment to strike. I opened my mouth to break the silence, but the words felt heavy, too heavy to hold. "I'm really sorry about," I started, but Lily raised her hand, signaling for silence. "Let me talk, Dad," she interrupted, her voice steely. "You've taken a lot away from me, my dreams. You've watched me build this vision, and then, just like that, you smashed it. You're not even sorry, are you?" "Lily, I'm trying to do the right thing. I thought I was thinking about your future." How pitiful my words sounded, barely able to escape the grasp of my guilt. "Thinking about my future?" Her laugh was cold, slicing through the air like a knife. "You mean your dreams for me? This wedding was all I ever wanted, and you ripped it away like it was nothing." Her words hit me hard. The guilt fermented into a bile rising in my throat. "It's not just about the money. I want you to make choices that aren't just about glamour, but about what truly matters. Like what? You mean a life where I end up just like you? She shot back, the bitterness echoing louder than the rain now. My chest tightened. I could feel every patroness' eyes on us, the weight of the judgment pressing into my skin. But then she took a breath, and the fire in her eyes flickered. What you don't know is that everything I've built is about to change anyway, she whispered, her voice barely audible above the din. What do you mean? I leaned forward, gripping the edge of the table. My heart raced, desperate for answers. Had I pushed her too far? There's something you need to hear, something I've been keeping from you. If you don't, you'll wish you had, she said, her gaze shifting away, out into the storm beyond the diner's glass. As she stared into the darkness, I could feel despair wrapping around us. What is it, Lily? Please just tell me, I urged, my hands shaking. The seconds stretched out, each one echoing with uncertainty. Whatever bombshell she was about to drop would change everything for better or worse. But before she could speak, the door swung open, letting in a gust of cold wind. A figure entered, and my breath caught in my throat. This was unexpected. The face was familiar yet unsettling. The strangeness of it sent a ripple of tension through the diner. I turned to Lily, searching for answers in her face, but her expression was locked, a mask of fear. Who is that? I asked, my voice thick with dread. Before she could answer, the figure made eye contact with Lily, and a loaded silence fell between us. Here we were, on the brink of a revelation, and now this man appeared like a storm cloud on what was already a dark night. The unraveling had just begun. What had Lily been hiding? And why was he here now? The diner seemed to freeze, the buzz of conversation dying in the presence of the stranger. He stood just inside the entrance, water dripping from his coat, making him look even more out of place amid the yellow light and cheap vinyl booths. His eyes, dark and piercing, were fixed solely on Lily. Lily, he said, his voice steady, but the soft lilt hinted at something deeper. A confession? A threat? I couldn't tell. David, Lily whispered, her tone betraying a mix of fear and disbelief. The name sliced through me. I knew that name from the wedding plans, a groomsman, the one I remembered smiling too brightly in photos. But this was different. His look was not a friendly one. I felt an instinctive rush of protectiveness. What is he doing here? I growled, clenching my fists under the table, my fingers digging into the faux leather. Lily shifted in her seat, eyes darting between me and David. He's here to talk, she stammered, her voice wavering. David took a step closer, defiant. We need to sort things out, Lily. This can't wait. His gaze met mine, and I felt a shiver run down my spine, an unspoken challenge sparking in the air. Sort what out? I shot back, rising slightly in my seat. The pressure in the diner climbed. Other customers couldn't help but stare, their eyes flicking between us like spectators at a car crash. Dad, please, Lily begged, her hand raised as if to shield herself from the fallout. Just let him speak. My heart pounded. She wanted to hear what he had to say. My grip tightened. I could feel it all unraveling, the threads of my control, my plans for her future, the very fabric that held our family together. Go ahead, David, I said, forcing venom into my words. Tell us what you need. His jaw clenched. Lily, you know it's not what you think. We can't ignore what's happening. I could barely process what was being said. My mind swirled with images of Lily's dreams shattered against the jagged edge of hope that David was here. What could possibly justify his presence? How could you come here and interrupt our dinner? I spat, heart racing. Because this is more important, Dad, she erupted, her voice suddenly fierce. The fire that had flickered earlier now blazed to life. More important than anything you've ever cared about. David nodded slowly, his expression softening, but there was something urgent in his stance. Lily, you need to tell him. He has to understand before it's too late. Tell me what? The silence felt suffocating, wrapping around us like a noose. My stomach churned in anticipation, a heartbeat passed. Lily's eyes shone with unshed tears, a well of emotions threatening to spill over as she seemed to battle between fear and resolve. I can't stay silent any longer, Dad. Not when it comes to David. The name echoed in my mind like a warning bell. It went beyond wedding drama or financial damage. Somehow, I felt it was much darker. She had kept him hidden for a reason. What were you hiding? I pressed, desperation creeping into my tone. I didn't recognize my own voice. I'm pregnant, she blurted out, collapsing back into her seat, as if the explosive confession had drained every ounce of strength. The diner seemed to come alive around us again, murmurs of disbelief rising and crashing like waves. My world tilted on its axis, disbelief gripping me. I gaped at her, searching for any sign it was a joke, but all I saw was fear. David moved closer to Lily, a protective stance creeping in, and suddenly I felt the fear crawl back into my throat. Pregnant? I managed to croak, the words barely making it out of me. You mean you'd thrown away everything? The storm outside echoed back, louder now, each raindrop a reminder of the chaos enveloping us. And just like that, I realized that old wounds were the least of our problems. New ones were being forged in the fire of this moment. Dad, you don't understand. Lily's voice trembled. But what could I understand? My daughter was about to tell me her future written in uncertainty. As I opened my mouth to respond, one question popped into my head, lingering like the crowd's judgment. What were we really going to do now? The unraveling continued. Would David be the guardian of a future I didn't want for my daughter? Or was he the only ally she had left? The air in the diner crackled with tension as the reality of Lily's confession settled over us, thick and suffocating. My heart thundered, drowning out the murmur of patrons and the clatter of silverware. Each frantic look exchanged between David and Lily felt like a countdown, the clock of our lives ticking down with every second. Are you sure about this? I managed, barely whispering, as if the act of speaking louder would shatter the fragile piece of sanity left in the room. Lily's eyes were wide, glassy with unshed tears, yet there was a fire behind them. She was ready for this fight, even if I wasn't. I know, Dad. I can't keep pretending everything is fine. David cleared his throat, a tension tightening around his throat. It's not just about us anymore. It's about your child, our child, he said, each word dropping like stones, heavy and impactful. Your child? Don't you dare speak as if you care. I snapped, anger snapping through the air like a whip. You've been a ghost in her life, and now you think you can waltz in and play the father? The other diners shifted uncomfortably, some whispering among themselves, eyes locked on our table like moths drawn to a flame. I could practically feel their judgment pricking at my back, like tiny needles of shame. I had no choice. David's voice cracked, desperation coloring his features. You don't know what it's like for her. I was there when she needed me. More than you were. The words hit me like a punch. I recoiled, but my mind was racing. You think this is my fault? That I have any responsibility in this? I felt betrayed by Lily for even letting him near her, for dragging our family into his mess. Stop it. Lily's voice rose above the din, her hands slamming on the table in an uncontrolled gesture. I can't believe you're making this about you. You were the one who left me in the dark when I needed someone to lean on. You don't get to come back just because you want to be a hero now. Her words struck truth, and I felt the ground shift beneath me. This was no longer about just the shock. It was about choices made, wrongs suffered, and the shifting sands of trust that had carried us to this moment. Then what do you want, Lily? I asked, my voice trembling with the weight of confusion and fear. What do you expect me to do? I want you to understand, Dad, she said, her voice softer now, raw with emotion. I love him, and I'm keeping the baby. We're going to do this together. You can't just cut me off from your life, from your grandchild. The word grandchild tumbled into my consciousness like an anchor, dragging me down into swirling thoughts of unpreparedness. A baby? How could she even consider that with someone like David? Lily, listen to reason, I started, desperate. The not wanting to lose her wrestled with the reality I was staring at. You could have a stable life, a future where you'll be secure, and no. She interjected fiercely, tears finally spilling down her cheeks. Security? Is that what you think life is all about? I choose love. I choose my life. A wave of realization crashed over me. The future I envisioned for her was slipping through my fingers, caught in the tide of her very different dreams. As I sat at the table, all too aware of the murmurs swelling around us, my thoughts raced. Would I stand against her happiness? Could I really allow my vision for her to dictate her life choices? David reached for Lily's hand, a gesture I could never have expected. It sparked something inside me, a mix of anger and a reluctant respect for the bond they shared. What now? I asked, my voice thick with unsteady resolve, realizing I was on the brink of losing everything, my daughter and the ideal I thought I protected. The diner continued around us, the life moving forward while mine felt unmoored. I want you to be involved, Lily said, her voice fierce with intent, if you can find it in your heart. Because, believe it or not, this is your family too. And it was then that I felt it, a flutter of fear mixed with something like despair. Was the life I envisioned now tearing apart? Or was there a way to find a truce between all the choices that had led us here? Just then, the door of the diner swung open, and a new gust of wind poured in, bringing with it the scent of rain and uncertainty, along with a shadow that shifted past the entrance. An unfamiliar figure stepped in. Their gaze drifted towards our table, and the tension in the room doubled as the stranger's eyes locked onto Lily. A chill whispered through the diner. What could they want? What was happening next? The door creaked as the figure stepped further in, their presence drawing not just the attention of the diner, but summoning a palpable weight in the air. I can't place how I knew, but instinct kicked in. It was something dangerous about this intruder. Lily's face went white, a stark change that shattered the momentary calm. She looked ready to bolt. My heart raced. Who was this? I scanned the room, searching for any sign that someone else recognized them. But the patrons were too busy pretending they weren't watching, hushed whispers growing more fervent. Lily, the stranger spoke, voice low yet smooth, slicing through the murmurs. I've been looking for you. David, visibly on edge, instinctively moved in front of Lily, protective instinct screaming. Who are you? He demanded, jaw tightening, his eyes narrowing. It's okay, Lily said, yet the tremor in her voice betrayed her. It's someone from my past. My gut twisted as questions raced through my head like a stampede. What past? What had she been hiding? I felt the tension like a heavy fog weighing down on me, panic creeping in as she locked eyes with the stranger. Someone you thought you could leave behind, the figure said, grinning, revealing a flash of white teeth. There was something unsettling about that smile, predatory even. But you know how these things work, right? The past never truly stays buried. I don't want anything to do with you, Lily said, voice quivering but resolved. Just leave me alone. Leave you alone? They snorted, steel-lined amusement creeping into their tone. Oh, sweetheart, don't you know? It's too late for that. We're not done yet. Not by a long shot. The diner seemed to hold its breath as the reality of the situation unfolded like a horrifying live show. I could feel the eyes of the other patrons drilling into us, their breaths caught in their throats, waiting for the next act. David stepped forward again. You need to get out of here. Now. His voice was laced with a fierce anger, yet tinged with fear. Or what? The stranger challenged, stepping closer, a predatory gleam sparking in their gaze. You'll call the police? How quaint. They nodded toward Lily, their smile remaining fixed. I think she might need to hear what I have to say. Don't you, Lily? The atmosphere thickened, an electric charge in the air as Lily shifted uneasily, caught in a tangle of emotions. Please just go, she said, but her voice was barely above a whisper. Not until I get what's mine, the stranger replied, their stance unyielding. Yours? The words spat out of my mouth, disbelief wrestling with a rising tide of fury. What do you mean, yours? Enough, Lily shouted, surprising all of us, her voice echoing harshly off the diner's walls. Just stop. But it was too late. The tension had reached its peak, and something had snapped. The patrons were huddled together in their own worlds, fixated diner statuses forgotten, their meals and coffee cooling untouched. Lily, you don't even know what's at stake, I warned, grabbing her arm gently, trying to ground her. She looked at me, confusion and fear swirling in her eyes, but the stranger smirked, seeming to take pleasure in our anxiety. Oh, she knows more than you think, they said, taking another menacing step closer. After all, her choices come with consequences. I felt the ground shifting beneath my feet. What consequences? What revelations lay hidden beneath this facade? The jaws of uncertainty began closing in on me. I sensed a storm brewing, one that could tear our family apart or worse, drag Lily into something from which there might be no return. Tell me what you want, I said, voice firm, attempting to shield Lily from whatever came next. But the stranger's smile widened, casting shadows across the room. I think you're all about to find out, they said cryptically, a knowing gleam flashing in their unsettling gaze. As the words hung in the air, the door swung open again, a rush of cold air slapping us awake. A familiar face stepped through, drawing another round of whispers, and I couldn't help but wonder, was this just the beginning of unraveling secrets that would change everything? The familiar face stepped in, momentarily breaking the mounting tension, and I squinted to get a better look. It couldn't be had it been years since I last saw Jeff. The soft-spoken childhood friend of mine now looked hardened, his eyes searching, taking in the scene. As he recognized the tension, uncertainty flickered across his features. "What the hell is going on?" he asked, glancing between the stranger and Lily. The whispers escalated, swirling through the diner like a twisting wind, threatening to carry us all away. "Lily, is this person?" Jeff's voice trailed off, and the weight of his words hung heavy in the air. Anxiety coiled tighter in my stomach. Who are we really dealing with here? "Just leave, Jeff," Lily snapped, but her tone wavered, revealing a crack in her facade. "No," he insisted, stepping towards her, a protective aura suddenly illuminating him. "You need to tell me who this is. Now." The stranger's amusement shifted into irritation as they rolled their eyes. "You're making this tedious." With a sudden motion, they smacked a folder onto the counter. Papers spilled out, fluttering like desperate birds escaping a storm. The sensation of dread tightened around my throat as I caught a glimpse of the contents of a photo of Lily, alongside older images I couldn't place. "What's this?" Jeff asked, but the stranger merely grinned, relishing the moment. "Evidence," they stated, their voice dripping with mockery. I could see the other patrons leaning closer, curiosity and fear blending in their eyes, craving the unknown. I clenched my fists, my mind a tempest blur of thoughts. Were we about to uncover something so grave it could shatter everything we knew? "Lily, what did you do?" I whispered, my voice barely escaping my throat. She recoiled, her eyes darting, revealing vulnerability that felt foreign after years of her steadfastness. "I didn't do anything," she shot back, yet her voice shook. Please listen to me." The figure's sharp laughter resonated, echoing through the diner. "Others may have different opinions on that. Choices resonate, you see." They leaned in closer, their breath cold and taunting. "Your sweetheart has a history. A colorful little tale full of adventures." "Adventure?" David interjected, his jaw clenched tight as anger coursed through him like fire. "You think this is some kind of game?" The stranger shrugged, a sly smile still etched across their face. "Not a game, darling. More like unfinished business." The atmosphere thickened like a storm cloud, crackling with tension. The diner's patrons were paralyzed, eyes wide, caught in the theater of our lives, awaiting the next act. I could feel Lily's heart racing against my own frantic pulse. "Lily, tell us what this is about," I pleaded, urgency pushing against the rising tide of mystery. "What is happening? What did you get yourself mixed up in?" As she opened her mouth to respond, the door swung open violently once again. A gust of wind gusted in, heralding another intruder. My pulse quickened. Who now? A twist of fate? Or a final piece of the puzzle? The new arrival stepped in, big and imposing, his eyes sweeping over us, registering the rapt attention with an air that set the room on edge. I held my breath, poised for impact. There was something undeniably dark in his presence, as if he held the keys to a vault we shouldn't dare to open. "What is happening here?" he asked bluntly, voice booming, eyes narrowing at the stranger. The figure's expression shifted, momentarily losing their playful demeanor as they confronted this newcomer, and I couldn't help but wonder, was the truth about to surface, or were we about to plunge deeper into a darkness that none of us could escape from? The eyes of the diner shifted between the newcomer and the stranger, uncertainty thickening the air like fog. The latter took a step back, surprise flickering across their face before it hardened into something wary. "This doesn't concern you," they shot back, but the newcomer didn't flinch. "Everything concerns me when it involves my family," he stated, his tone flat but charged. A shiver slid down my spine. Who was he to Lily? Anger radiated from Jeff as he stepped closer to the two, frustration tangled with a desperate need to protect her. "Can someone just explain what is going on?" Jeff demanded, his voice rising above the din of murmurs. I glanced at Lily, whose face had blanched, the playful spark gone from her eyes. The stranger smirked, a cruel twist tugging at their lips, seeking to draw out the agony. "Oh, I think it's time for our little history lesson, wouldn't you agree?" "No." Lily's voice burst out, trembling and fierce. You don't get to do this. Without thinking, I reached for her hand, squeezing it tightly. The warmth of her skin felt fragile, yet I hoped it contained strength we could lean on. What do you know? Please, just tell us. The stranger chuckled, leaning casually against the counter. What I know is that secrets don't stay buried forever. You remember that, right, Lily? The monitoring eyes of restless patrons bore down on us, their faces wrapped with intrigue. I was sweating, my heart hammering as if it wanted to jump right out of my chest. What did they mean by secrets? Lily had always been the anchor in my turbulent world, her calmness a refuge. But now that foundation felt like quicksand pulling me under. I can't, she finally whispered, her gaze falling. Why not? Are you afraid of the past? The stranger taunted, stepping a little closer, closing the space that still felt impossibly vast. Before Lily could respond, the imposing figure turned, intimidating in stature. This isn't the time for games. His voice had dropped to a menacing growl, eyes locking on the stranger with a fierceness that could ignite flames. You want to play with lives? You better be ready for the consequences. The stranger's amusement faded slightly, revealing a crack in their demeanor. Consequences? Those are just fancy words for the truth none of you are ready to face. What is the truth? Jeff pressed, hands trembling at his sides. The stranger's eyes glimmered with sick delight, enjoying the chaos they had stirred. Simple Lily's life isn't what she's let you believe. You know, some stories aren't fairy tales. They're more like horror spectacles. Lily recoiled again, disoriented. You're lying. She shot back, but her voice lacked conviction. Am I? The stranger's laughter echoed, turning heads in the diner. When she disappeared for those weeks when she came back shit, I thought she'd be ready to tell you all then. Disappeared? I echoed, confusion swirling through my mind. How had we not known? A dark perception began to settle over the room like a heavy fog. Yes, the stranger purred, their voice low and honeyed. You think you know her, but there are pieces of her life that are woven into the fabric of someone else's nightmare. I could sense the tension tightening around us like a noose. The air felt thick and electric as we waited for the dam to burst, for the truth to come crashing down like a torrent, each second stretching into an eternity. Just then, the newcomer shrugged, his scowl unwavering. You want answers? Then let us get to the heart of this mess. Time to confront your past, Lily. Suddenly, every eye in the diner fell back on Lily, all waiting for her to let the truth slip from within. Would she? Or would this dreadful game drag us deeper into an abyss darker than any of us had anticipated? As the silence crashed down, I couldn't shake the feeling that something horrific lay just beneath the surface, ready to claw its way into the light. The stillness weighed heavily, a thick blanket of anticipation hanging over us like storm clouds ready to unleash their fury. Every gaze rested on Lily, searching, questioning, demanding an answer. I could feel her heartbeat quicken, matching my own. Time froze as the tension reached a boiling point. Lily's lips trembled as she glanced from the stranger to the newcomer, desperation flickering in her eyes. I didn't think it would ever come to this, she stammered. What are you so afraid of? The stranger pressed, their voice dripping with malice. The truth will only set you free, but you can't run from it anymore. Lily, tell us, Jeff urged, his voice a desperate whisper. We're here for you. Whatever it is, we can face it together. But the shadows dancing in her eyes told a different story. It was as if each moment stretched out painfully, wrapping around us, squeezing the air from my lungs. She opened her mouth, hesitated, and then closed it again, trapped in a web of unseen fears. Maybe it's time to reveal the mirror of your past, the stranger taunted with an insidious smile. It's only fair, don't you think? Or are you going to keep the dark corners hidden? An unsettled murmur rippled through the diner. Patrons exchanged glances, their intrigue morphing into concern. I could almost hear their thoughts, a twisted tale unfolding right before their eyes. Something otherworldly that they ached to be part of. Just say it, the newcomer urged, his voice low but commanding, like a judge presiding over a fate sealed long ago. With a deep breath, Lily finally lifted her chin defiantly. But the words lodged in her throat, resistance wrestling against the truth that was clawing to escape her. Before she could continue, the stranger laughed, a full, mocking sound that filled the diner with chill. She can't do it. You think she can face the reality of her failure? No sooner had they spoken the sentence than a crash echoed behind us. A lady had knocked over her drink in shock, the ice tumbling across the floor, creating an awkward yet explosive distraction. The noise startled Lily, her moment slipping through her fingers again. "Now look what you've done," Jeff scolded, frustration boiling over. But his anger dissipated as he turned back to Lily, his expression softening. "You're not alone in this." Lily looked back at him, eyes swimming with conflicted emotions, fear slicing through her like a sharp blade. Then, as if searching for strength, she held my hand tighter, and warmth flooded back to me, a flicker of hope. "Listen, I'll tell you everything, just please be ready for it." "Ready or not, let us do this," the newcomer urged, stepping closer, equally invested in her next words. She breathed in deeply, calming herself as if to steady the storm. "I didn't just disappear, I was taken." Gasps resonated throughout the diner, disbelief washing over the onlookers. I could hardly comprehend what I just heard. My heart pounded louder than ever as fragments of dread and uncertainty played in my mind. "Oh, I can only imagine how much fun that was," the stranger mocked, leaning in as if savoring her pain. "Shut up," I snapped, anger surging as I felt the room teeter on the brink of chaos. "Let her finish." Lily turned to look at the stranger once more, her face a mixture of resolve and fear. "I was taken by someone I trusted. Someone who wore a mask and broke the person I was until my return was nothing more than a wound slowly festering, hidden beneath a facade." The stranger's grin faded momentarily, replaced by something darker. They had been toying with the truth, but now it seemed the narrative was shifting beneath their feet. The crowd's eyes widened. Suspense coiled, and it felt as if the air itself held its breath. "What is your definition of trust?" the newcomer questioned firmly, sensing the shift in power. What can you say about family?" Lily's voice trembled, her resolve flickering like a candle nearing its end as she prepared to reveal the most devastating truth of all. I held my breath, the impending revelation roiling within me like a storm, threatening to break. Would her next words pull us into a chasm we might never escape? As she opened her mouth, the diner fell into a silence so profound that a pin dropping would have shattered it. And then the door swung open sharply, sending a gust of wind through the diner. As a figure emerged, someone who bore an uncanny resemblance to the person Lily once trusted. The past collided with the present in that moment, and the tension erupted, palpable and electric. Would Lily exorcise her demons, or would they rise again and claim her? My heart raced as the figure stepped into the diner, cutting through the charged silence like a knife through butter. The clamor of forks clattering and hushed whispers faded into a throbbing pulse of anxiety. I could see the resemblance clearly now, an echo of warmth wrapped in cold intentions. It was Sarah, Lily's sister, the one who vanished along with her in that fateful night long ago. "Sis?" Sarah's voice cut through the air, a fragile quiver suffusing it. "Is that really you?" Lily's breath caught, the blood draining from her face as realization transformed her expression into one of sheer horror. "No, you shouldn't be here." The panic in her voice struck deep, reverberating off the diner walls, making people flinch. The stranger, the one playing puppet master throughout this mess, smirked, clearly relishing the chaos spiraling around us. "Interesting how the weave of family can entangle us all, isn't it?" They leaned back, arms crossed, eyes alight with a sadistic joy. In an instant, everyone shifted their gaze, now oscillating between the two sisters. The tension hung thick like a dense fog, a mixture of dread and disbelief woven into the very fabric of our being. "Sarah, I thought you were gone," Lily whispered hoarsely, a cascade of tears welling in her eyes as she fought for control. "I was never lost," Sarah shot back icily. "Maybe it was you who forgot about me." Gasps skittered about the diner, an electric charge of shock mixed with suspicion. A diner full of strangers was suddenly thrust into the heart of a family drama, and they thrived on the turmoil churning in front of them. "What happened that night?" I demanded, my voice breaking the spell of murmurs. But the question slipped into the void, unanswered. "I didn't forget." Lily's voice cut through my thoughts, sharper than I'd ever heard it before. "I tried to find you, Sarah. You just vanished." With eyes boring through her sister, Sarah took a few steps closer, a snake slithering into striking range. And it looks like you've been quite content in your little lie ever since. There was venom lacing her words, making each syllable a stab into Lily's already frayed nerves. The diner patrons were now on the edge of their seats, riveted by the unfolding scene. No one dared to break the fragile sphere of tension, holding their breath as if we all recognized we were participants in a dark family reunion that was far from over. It's all a game to you. Isn't it? Lily's voice trembled, layered with an emotion that twisted my gut. You think this is fun, tearing apart what is left? Rich coming from you, Sarah spat back, her expression hardening into ice. You never cared to reveal what happened to me, did you? You danced around the truth. What truth? Anguish dripped from her voice. I could see Lily retreating into an emotional shell, the cracks splintering deeper with every jab. Suddenly, the stranger wheeled forward, jaw set, relishing the family fallout. Maybe Lily isn't the only one who has secrets. Their words dripped like poison, lingering ominously in the air. Stop it. Jeff chimed in, frustration boiling over, but it only fueled the fire. What do you do in a world that spins with lies? The stranger pressed on, the predator stalking its prey. When trust is nothing but a shadow, lurking when you least expect it. The room stilled again, the weight of the question gnawing on us all, each heart echoing the dread of what might be lurking in the dark, unseen and menacing. Who betrayed who? Someone finally whispered, sparking murmurs among the crowded diner, suspicion now draping over everyone like a shroud. Tell us, Lily. Another voice urged, a mixture of sympathy and impatience. And with every tick of the clock, the question loomed larger, a storm gathering strength in the air, ready to burst. Lily's eyes flickered between her sister and the stranger, her lips trembling. The moment hung suspended, both fragile and heavy, a glass teetering on the edge. Just tell us the truth, I urged, nearly breathless. The diner held its breath as if fearing the fracture that might follow. Would Lily break free from the anomalies of her past, or would the darkness consume them all? Then, with a sudden blink, realization washed over Lily. She stood straighter, a spark igniting in her gaze. If I'm going to reveal everything, what was her truth about Sarah, about the day that changed their lives forever? Everyone leaned in, hearts racing to witness the inevitable unraveling. But before she could finish, the stranger's cold laugh echoed through the diner, dragging us back into uncertainty. Let us see how much you really remember, shall we? The air crackled with tension as Lily momentarily gathered herself, the weight of history pressing down heavily upon her shoulders. It's time to face what happened that night, she breathed, her voice trembling but resolute. Just as she began to unleash the floodgates of her truth, the stranger leaned in, eyes glinting with anticipation, ready to feast on the chaos. But before she could speak, a flicker of clarity crossed Lily's face, igniting a new resolve within her. No more hiding. I want to let you turn this into some twisted performance. The strength in her voice washed over me like a warm embrace, cutting through the storm swirling in the diner. Tell us everything, Lily. I interjected, my own heart racing in sync with hers, desperate for truth, desperate to shield her from whatever darkness lay ahead. Lily glanced first at Sarah, then at the stranger, the weight of her past clinging to her like an old, worn-out sweater. Sarah, I thought you were gone forever because I couldn't protect you. I wasn't over my head, protect me? Sarah shot back, venom seeping into her tone. You left me there. You didn't even look for me. The bitterness crackled in the air, binding us all in a tense web. Enough, the stranger snarled, the power in the room shifting unpredictably. This is more than just a sibling spat. It's about the choice you made, Lily. The choice that had consequences you can't outrun. Consequences? Lily echoed chillingly, her eyes betraying a flicker of fear. I didn't choose this, none of it. I was trying to keep your secret safe, thinking it would protect us both. I thought we were in this together. Together? Sarah replied, her disbelief cutting deeper than a knife. Your silence betrayed me, Lily. You could have told everyone the truth. Instead, you let them believe I was the villain in our story. My heart sank deeper, each revelation feeling like another weight added to the already precarious balance. The diners watched closely, their breaths held tight. This was a climax of twisted family ties and buried secrets. But why did it all happen? I pressed, urgency tinging my words. We need to know. The stranger's smirk vanished as a flicker of anger edged back into their stance. I think it's time you showed them what really lies beneath your skin. Their taunting words hung heavy in the air, and my stomach twisted with dread. Lily's eyes fell again, a shadow creeping into her resolve. It was a party, she whispered, memories surging to the surface, and the aftermath was something no one anticipated. Sarah and I were stopped. The stranger's voice boomed, forcing everyone to freeze, their anxious breaths mingling in the silence. Stop trying to twist this. The truth is more horrific than you'd ever imagine, Lily. Don't pretend you can control this revelation. I could see panic flash across Lily's features, fearful of the impact this truth would have on everything we fought to protect. Yet I sensed something deeper, a resolve rising like a phoenix. She swallowed hard, eyes sparkling with determination. I won't be bullied into silence anymore. It's time to put it all out in the open. She took a deep breath, the thrum of silence filling the diner as she steeled herself. That night I was there, Sarah. I saw it happen. The weight of her statement shook the room like an earthquake. Gasps erupted, surprise dancing through the air, but the strangest response came from Sarah, a mix of anguish and acceptance. Yes, she breathed finally, a flash of shame crossing her face. You saw everything, and you still chose to stay silent. I thought if I kept my mouth shut, I could protect you, protect the family. Lily's voice broke, tears spilling down her cheeks. The gravity of her actions hung thick as each word came tumbling out, a raw incision into the heart of our family ties. Your silence didn't save me. It tortured us both. Sarah shot back, pain threading through every syllable. You destroyed us with your protection. The diner felt charged, the air like a powerful storm waiting to breach and release its fury. Each patron froze, holding their breath in rapt anticipation, each one pulled into the gravity of their unfinished story. I should have told the truth, Lily offered, voice wavering but clear. I thought protecting your secret meant keeping you safe. But I see it now, how blind I was. The stranger leaned back, almost relaxed, savoring the upheaval while seizing an opportunity to cripple us further. And what now? Do you expect the world to forgive you? They sneered, the shadows deepening around them as their presence shrank the space filled with despair. But amidst the confusion, amid the chaos, something flickered in the air, a promise of redemption. This isn't over, I said firmly, forcing the words out despite the trembling of my heart. We can heal. We can fix this, but it starts with the truth. Can you forgive me? Lily's voice trembled, her eyes glistening with hope and fear, searching for both Sarah's and mine. I don't know, Sarah whispered, her defenses still high, yet the softness in her voice betrayed a flicker of love. But maybe honesty gives us a chance. The stranger scoffed, the defiance splintering along the walls of their facade. Love? You think that's enough to wipe the slate clean? Good luck in this twisted game. Their laughter echoed again, cruel and haunting. Maybe it's time for you to leave, I said firmly, mustering my courage as I turned towards the stranger, confident. You won't dictate our family any longer. You no longer hold any power here. As I spoke those words, I felt the energy shift. Together with Lily and Sarah, we formed a solid front against the storm. It was our time to face the darkness that lingered. Lily nodded, determination hardening her features. Get out. You don't get to dictate our ending. We will write our own story. The strangers stood there, shocked fury flickering in their gaze before the flicker of fear replaced it. They could feel the tide turning against them, the power slipping through their fingers like sand. This isn't over. You'll regret this, they hissed finally. But as they turned to leave, I felt a weight lift. The storm clouds had begun to part, sunbeams penetrating the heavy atmosphere, hinting at hope for the future. Let them go, I murmured. With every ounce of my being, I willed love and honesty to mend us. The diner no longer felt like a cage. Instead, it felt like a rebirth. As we breathed freely again, unable to shake the weight of nervousness and uncertainty, we embraced the daunting journey ahead, but we would face it together. As a family, the truth dawned upon us. I turned to Lily and Sarah. Let us start anew. For us, for the baby. Lily smiled, a shaky yet beautiful smile, two sisters beginning to heal, one step toward mending the gaps. The chatter resumed around us, slowly returning, but this time it buzzed a little less harshly, a little less judgmentally, reminding us that amidst stormy nights, a new dawn would eventually arise. That night had changed us forever, but together we were ready to face whatever came our way. It was only the beginning of a story that needed to be told. And as I sat there, wrapped in the layers of love and forgiveness, I felt the tremors of something greater rising from the disappointment. The power of honesty and the strength of family had triumphed. Now, it was time to embrace the future with open arms. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Don't miss out on what comes next. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and keep the love coming. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this shocking ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. We appreciate your support as true fans. You understand how vital it is.